Hey guys, let's do another health supplement video for two reasons. Number one, I have a viewer, Gerard, somebody, I forgot his last name, who keeps reminding me of my funny videos. And one was, I was laughing so hard again about stomach acid. But number two is we just had a longtime friend he just turned 80 in the hospital 2 months because of a gallbladder that he kept ignoring, a gallbladder. So let's have a health supplement video in hopes that we can avoid a crisis with your gallbladder and stomach acid. So while I'm going to try to be serious, I'm probably going to laugh. I don't mean to laugh, but I think we need to address the issue of stomach acid again. Anyways, I've got my blue pop again today. There's bubble gum in the middle. I think this is watermelon flavor. Anyways, these remind me, on a side note, these remind me of my husband, because back in the day, and he never told me this. I wish he would have told me this, because I could have had a suggestion for him, but decades ago he was starting to have diabetes, and he used to hide tons of candy and gum, suckers, well, not chocolate because it would melt. And when he would start feeling poorly, which meant his sugar was getting too low, he would stock up on candy. So I didn't know that's why he did it. He never shared that with me. I thought he was like a hoarder. The stuff he would pack in his briefcase for work when he would leave, it wasn't normal. But so anyways, side note, if you guys ever get to that point, that really does mean you're going too long without eating, and you really shouldn't do that. You need to keep your body from getting to that frenzied state. So try to start the day with a good, healthy food nutrition. All right, so back to the stomach acid. Get your pen and paper. And a reminder, I am not a professional healthcare person in any way. I'm not a trained nutritionist. I'm not a nothing other than your everyday all-American Mary Hartman housewife. What I'm sharing here with you is what I have learned on my own, what I've researched on the internet, what I've learned from friends and family, and from our functional medicine doctor. And I want to share it with you. I was reminded of this because this one viewer was reminding me of my videos where I was laughing my head off. And although it was I was trying to be serious about these videos. I'm realizing how many people have have touchy tummies. And looking back, and this is just kind of a progression of how I have educated myself. But looking back, my husband, who also had his gallbladder removed, he was in the hospital. This was like the last decade. Because he kept avoiding tummy trouble for so long that he ended up in emergency surgery with gallbladder, like on the verge of gangrene. He was in the hospital for 2 months, and just yesterday, of all things, our family friend from the early 60s, when we first moved to Simi Valley in the early 60s, this is like one of our original neighbors we've been friends with ever since. He just turned 80 yesterday. And bigger than beans, he was rushed back to the hospital after being there for 2 months with this gallbladder removal that was like on the verge of gangrene. And yesterday, on his 80th birthday, rushed back because they just sent him home so he could have his birthday at home. And somehow, when they removed the when you have those infusion, I can't think of what they call it now, but when you have like those things in your arm, transfusion tubes, created a blood clot overnight, and so that he was sent back to the hospital for the blood clot. So you guys, I know we're all afraid of an operation. We're all afraid of the hospital, but it's really not worth it to be that scared to where you let these things go on for years and years and years. Then you end up with a terrible situation. So let's try to focus on that, to take care of it today. Again, to show you where I've come from. You know, my very best friend in 1979 started working for Lassen's. It's a natural health food store, a local here in Southern California. It's like a Trader Joe's or Sprouts or Whole Foods. So anyways, I had moved to Santa Barbara. So I was having my fun life, just left home out on my own. My best friend from childhood wanted to get together, and she says, yes, come and meet me for lunch. I work at Lassen's. I will never forget going to that store for the first time ever. The smell of that store was so upsetting. And I kept asking her, I said, how can you work there? It smells different. It smells funny. But because her family was more so into health for more years than myself, she couldn't understand me. But there was a definite difference when I walked into Lassen's versus when I walked into like an Alpha Beta. Back in the day, Alpha Beta was my store. And I used to shop at Alpha Beta all the time in Santa Barbara. And she didn't understand. And she couldn't understand me. I couldn't understand her. But I just remember thinking, I cannot believe she works there. I cannot believe she works there. And all the things there was nothing like you would find in a regular grocery store. I was dumbfounded. Okay, so that was 1979. So fast forward to the 80s, and I was just like your everyday consumer. I didn't have a ton of over-the-counter things, but my grandparents did, and my parents did. And when I got married in the early 80s, I didn't have all these things, but my husband did. He was in his 40s. There's a 22 years age difference. And I'll never forget, he had all the things that my grandparents had and my parents had, because he and my parents were the same age. But when we got married and I saw all his stuff, I didn't think anything of it because I thought it was normal. You guys, it's not normal. And the stuff he had by the bucket full, he had Rolaids. He had Tums or something like Tums. I think Tums came later, like in the 90s. Pepto-Bismol, Alka-Seltzer. Remember Vicks Vapor Rub? He used to take that stuff and lather his whole neck. When he was sick, he'd put it in his neck, his chest. He would physically stick the stuff up his nose. Now, I don't know what that is, other than today, here I am these decades later. All that stuff is terrible. If you're using any of that stuff ongoing, that could be your little sign you're at the beginning of a gallstone thing or gallbladder issue. And you don't want to get to that point. Now, my daughter, she may have learned this from her father. She got on a Tums kick because she had an upset tummy. And it got so bad, it was her appendix. And again, it was a near miss. Like in her 20s or something, was rushed. Went to the emergency and had gallbladder, and a near miss that it didn't turn gangrene. So, put that on the top of your list as warning signs of possible gallbladder, maybe perhaps an appendix issue. But those two organs, if you keep going on and on, then it just breaks down and you end up in an emergency, and you don't want to get gangrene. So, okay, that being said, I always talk about this, but let's talk about it again. Talk with your doctor, do your research, but more than likely, if you don't have a gallbladder, you will need digestive enzymes, because that's what a gallbladder does. It sorts out all the stuff to digest somehow. Fats, carbs, proteins, and sugars. And so definitely, if you don't have your gallbladder, you may need these. We get these from Amazon Prime. And if you're like me, I'm closer to 60 now than 55. And if you notice that after you eat a meal, you feel terrible, or you fall asleep, or you just don't feel like your old self, that could be a sign that your metabolism is sluggish, you're not digesting everything properly, and you need digestive enzymes. And that's what happened with me. I'm telling you, I feel like Wonder Woman now. Always eat these. Now, take 2 of these before I eat. It used to be so bad that I'd be terrified if I had to function during the day. I'd be terrified to eat because after I ate, I would feel terrible. But these have helped me tremendously. So again, if you don't feel good after you eat, do your research and see if this might be right for you. Okay, so and if you have had your gallbladder removed, talk to your doctor. Do your research, especially if you have loose stools. That's a sign that stuff isn't working properly, because your gallbladder would help you digest stuff, but now you don't have it. So do your research. Other thing I talked about here were probiotics. And what probiotics do is they restore the good bacteria to your gut and intestines. Because over our decades of life, we have antibiotics and over-the-counter drugs and toxins in our food that ruin the good bacteria in our gut, and we end up with all these diseases because our body can't absorb things. So we have to restore the good bacteria, and we get probiotics. But before we start taking probiotics, our gut has to have the right foundation. So eating onions, these are called prebiotics. Eating onions create the right atmosphere in our gut for probiotics to be absorbed well. There are other foods known as prebiotics. Do your research. I just remember onions because it's the easiest for us here at our home. But there are other prebiotics that you can use to set the right environment in your gut for probiotics to be absorbed properly. And a lot of people end up with candida and these immune systems, and it starts off with an unhealthy gut. The way our gut gets, the intestines get unhealthy, is they don't have good bacteria. So do your research. We get this one from Amazon Prime, but you can also go into Sprouts and go into Whole Foods and talk with the people there, and they may be able to help you also. But always do your research. So, acid. Let's talk about tummy acid. A lot of people take over-the-counter or prescription like Prevacid, or there's like a handful of, remember the little purple pill? Nexium. I never see ads for those things anymore, but there's Nexium, Prevacid, all this stuff. What the doctors don't tell you is you can't take that forever. If you start taking it for months at a time, it creates other problems. So, one way to balance the acid, apple cider vinegar before you eat. Start off small. Now, of course, you just can't stop your medicine without talking to your doctor. But write this down in your notes. Talk to your pharmacist. I have found they are way better to talk to about your medications. Doctors really don't know the depth. They know a certain amount of information regarding your medication. But if you want to be certain, call your pharmacist. If you have a number of medications from different doctors, call your pharmacist and tell them, I have this, and this. And when your doctor tells you to stop taking a medicine, call your pharmacist and confirm, can I stop taking this cold turkey? Those are the kind of little things that doctors may not be aware of. what medications can be quit cold turkey, what medications may or may not interact with your other medications. It doesn't matter what the change is in our house. Every time something changes, when we start a new medication, when we're told to stop, we bludgeon the pharmacist with what do we need to know. And so just a reminder to get in the habit of talking to your pharmacist, not to say that you have a bad doctor. It's just to say that doctors are experts in the doctor field, but your pharmacist is an excellent resource for your prescription. So do your research on this. This may be the beginning of helping you to get off those acid reflux prescription pills. The other thing, I've talked about this before, there is something, a book out years ago called Alkalize or Die. I'll never forget it. It was like a bright pink cover. If I ever find it again, I will share it with you. And the thought is, when our body is too acidic, it sets the environment for illness and disease. And I do believe that. I really think we are too acidic, but we don't know it and we don't pay attention. But I remember in that book, Alkalize or Die, that's what they were telling us, that if you don't pay attention to how to get rid of the acid in your body, you get all these little illnesses and diseases that start off because of an imbalance of too much acid. So this water, now do your research. This is a water, Essentia, like 9.5 alkaline pH. Do your research. All I know is I get this from Amazon Prime, but now I just get it locally. You can get this at Lassen's, possibly Trader Joe's. I know you can get it at Whole Foods and Sprouts, but this helps balance out your acid. I don't have a acid reflux problem. All I know is there is something wonderful at night after I've gone through my day, and I don't feel terrible, but I know I've eaten a lot of junk. There's something comforting and soothing about drinking this at night that makes my tummy feel better. And that's all I can say about it. So do your research. There's pros and cons. But for me, it's not that I drink it all day. I might be better off perhaps if I did drink it all day, because 99% of the stuff that we eat and drink causes acid in our tummies. So maybe I would be better off to eat and drink this all throughout the day. But for whatever reason, I don't. But I find it really comforting at night. So there's this brand. And this is a little bit cheaper. I found this water at Sprouts. I get it by the gallon. And it's just cheaper, and I fill those little bottles. Got this at Sprouts. So I don't know what the name is. Is it called 88 pH or alkaline 88 water? But there it is. It's a Himalayan mineral. So do your research. And So those would be my two go-to. Well, in fact, they are my go-to. And I don't even realize it. Maybe that's why I don't have acid trouble. I always have apple cider vinegar in my salad each day. Each day I have a huge salad with a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of olive oil, and add seasonings. I add my own seasonings to it. So maybe somehow that apple cider vinegar starts my tummy off good. And then at night I have the alkaline water to offset the acid. So I just do that automatic. Let's see. What else could we talk about? Oh, tummy. This is terrible. Now, reminder, write this down in your notes. I always talk about supplements. The truth is, food is your number one best defense for health. Good, healthy, nutritious food. Supplements are second. But for those of you with gout or fearful of getting gout, I don't know how you get gout, but again, it's some kind of acid buildup. And I'm so terrified of getting gout in my toe or in my feet. Because the people who have it say how painful it is. The fear gets me to take one alfalfa capsule daily. Do your research. There are natural remedies for gout. Always do your research, check with your doctor, but me, myself, and I, to ward off any possible gout, I take a capsule of alfalfa each day. I get this on Amazon Prime, but I'm sure they have it at Sprouts or Whole Foods. All right, so I covered the gout situation. Let's talk about caprylic acid. And again, I just talked about this. The caprylic acid, do your research. Caprylic acid is an antifungal, an antibacterial, and an antiviral supplement. I take this twice daily. I've been doing this for quite a long time. I just feel better. I ran out of it for a week or two, started feeling sluggish. I think a lot of the foods we eat, the prepackaged food, has a ton of fungus. All the breads and the crackers, I think, have fungus if we're eating non-organic crackers and wheat. I think there's fungus. But for me, I think, of course, the antibacterial and antiviral is there. But I think the antifungal in this is what helps me the most. I heard that coffee is full of fungus. I was taking organic coffee for a while. Didn't like it. Didn't feel good. So I went back to my long-time Folgers. I take 2 tablespoons of Folgers every day. So that's approximately 200 milligrams of caffeine, when the max per day is 400 milligrams of caffeine. So I try to watch that. But somewhere I read that coffee grinds have fungus. So I don't know where I got that. Maybe I need to research it again. But I definitely know that after a week or two of I ran out of this, didn't get it, I was feeling not as good as normal. So this is like a I just feel good about this. It just gives, there's so many viruses going around, so many terrible bacteria going around and stuff. I just feel good about taking this. So do your research. Okay, that. And I want to talk about spirulina again. I originally started buying this at Whole Foods. Now I just get it from Amazon. It's quicker. This mix has a few different things in it. Let me see. Chlorophyll. That's what I was looking for. Chlorophyll. They say to take 6 a day. Instead of taking one by one throughout the day, I take like 3 in the morning, and I try to remember to take 3 at night. They say to take 6 tablets daily. Somehow, the ingredients grab onto toxic metals and help pull them out of your body. And what quickly comes to mind, of course, is mercury that's found in tuna or mercury in dental stuff. But we have a ton of other toxic things that we don't even know about. Toxic metals. My sister had a ton of camdium. But just for safekeeping, I know we live in a toxic world with pollution and just junk. So I take this every day. And the way, you got to do your research, but the way it's explained to me is that it's such a mixture that it grabs onto the heavy metal toxic things in your body and drags them out. It's like a magnet somehow. And that's worth it to me if I take this every day over the next 10 or 20 years, and each day it takes away a little bit of toxicity. I'm happy. Basil, preferably, I like to get the fresh basil plant, organic fresh basil, and replace basil for lettuce in sandwiches. It is delicious, delicious, delicious. But one benefit of basil, it helps if you're a congested person with mucus and congestion in your throat and nose. Mucus helps to get rid of the mucus. Do your research, and perhaps you want to start using fresh basil for that, but always do your research. I have a thing about the fresh basil, throwing it in my salad. Now I'm not sure, I'm not sure, I have a thing for dry basil, excuse me. I'm not sure if the dry basil works as well for mucus. So you'll have to see what works best. But this is delicious in my salads. Smart & Final has the best pricing on jars of seasoning, I have found. Basil has a lot of good health benefits, so do your research. I wanted to make mention of this protein drink, this pre-made protein drink. Ages ago when we first found it at Costco. I was drinking like 3 of these a day. It's at the gym 2 to 3 hours a day. This is so delicious, you guys. But look at all the ingredients. Look at that. Ingredients start right here. Look. Remember we talked about carrageenan? Where is it? right here near the top, carrageenan. I don't know if you could see it. It's CARRAGEENAN, carrageenan or carrageenan. It's like a toxic form of seaweed. I don't know what they do exactly, but they use it as a thickening agent. It's found everywhere. This will wreak havoc on your muscles and your joints. I know that from personal experience. And I don't know what other body parts it affects, but do your research. And I would switch. I would get rid of this brand and not use it anymore. It's hidden in a ton of foods, even ice cream. In fact, I should check I just did an ice cream sandwich video because it was Ice Cream Sandwich Day, National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. I should probably check that. I'll bet that's in there because I have found it in many ice cream. Anyways, so put that down in your notes. If you notice you don't feel that great after you drink it, just FYI. Bananas and potassium. I found out a lot of foods, pre-packaged, pre-made, pre-canned, has potassium something. Do your research. I'm not sure if all these different forms of potassium, there's potassium this, potassium that, potassium, and it scares me. I did find out, this is why sometimes I believe I know for sure I have a guardian angel. A family member had heart issues and heart pills. Then they had to take a LASIK and they had to take a potassium. And I started noticing the heartbeat was getting lower and lower and lower. And so I was talking with a family member. And they said, my doctor says it's fine. My doctor says I have to take it. And for whatever reason, they didn't call the pharmacist. I didn't think to call the pharmacist. But you'll never believe this. I was watching a Columbo show a few years ago. And one of the ways that somebody murdered somebody on the show was through a potassium overdose. Do your research. Do you know too much potassium will stop your heart and you can die? Now, for those of us without heart issues or any issues, I don't think it affects us as bad, but please do your research. If you know of anybody or family, friends, anybody with heart issues and a potassium pill and a slow heartbeat, you have to do your research. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your pharmacist. But there's something about potassium that will, too much of it can cause somebody to die. And when I saw this on the show, I could not believe I saw it because we were just going through this heart problem. We couldn't figure out what's causing such a slow heartbeat. Why all of a sudden now is this happening? And that was why. It was too much potassium in that person's system. So, be careful of that. The doctor never told them that too much potassium can be trouble for your heart. So, do your research, talk to your doctor, and talk to your pharmacist. And The other two items I do not have here, but it jogs my memory. All of us should have in our home, number one, a blood pressure machine monitor. You can get them for like $40 on Amazon Prime, or of course you can go shop for your own. You could have high blood pressure and not know it. And these days, the blood pressure machines show the blood pressure, and it also shows your heartbeat. It shows if you have an irregular heartbeat. And these are things you need to know, because you won't know it. You'll just be going through your day and you won't know it. But if you have high blood pressure and also it says irregular heartbeat, it's super, super simple. You just go to the doctor right away, get it diagnosed so it doesn't blow into a worse situation, a stroke or anything. And you're done. But if you don't have a blood pressure machine with also the heart indicator, you will not even know you have high blood pressure or a heart problem. So please make sure every household, all your families, and tell your friends, get one for their house. Also, an oximeter. This little finger thing, which you can also get on Amazon Prime, or like at Target or Walgreens or Walmart, it's called an oximeter. Like oxygen, oximeter. It's this little thing you put on your finger, and it registers if you're getting enough oxygen and what kind of heart rhythm you have. So, again, it's another indicator. If you put that on there and your oxygen level is like below 90, you have a problem. But if you address it right away, it can be a quick fix. But usually it will be seniors who have oxygen problems, but nobody knows it. But you put that little thing on your finger, and it registers the oxygen level that you want to know, and it registers your heartbeat. And if it's an irregular heartbeat, if it's too fast, if you have AFib heart condition, you want to know that and just take care of it right away. So it doesn't go into a stroke or any kind of a heart issue. But these two little home devices are just like little miracle things in your home. They alert you, and if you use it on a daily basis, you can keep track of, am I getting better? Am I getting worse? But so I would encourage you, do your research, but I would encourage you to get that. Make sure your family has that in your house and your loved one. Okay, Fido. Oh, let's back up. Remember we were talking about protein powder, and I said, get rid of this because of the carrageenan. We switched to J-Rob protein powder. We take the egg white protein powder. J-Rob has 4 different flavors: chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and unflavored. He has egg white, and he has some other kind of form of this protein powder. Not only does it have a ton of protein, it has amino acids. Since we've been taking this, our blood tests, our lab work has gotten better. So do your research, talk to your doctor, and see if this might be right for you. Our functional medicine doctor told us about this protein powder, and we take it daily. Now, phytonutrient-rich foods. Do your research. Phytonutrient, P-H-Y-T-O, phytonutrient, one word, rich food. You cannot buy phytonutrients in a supplement. I'm almost positive. Maybe I haven't researched it enough, but I'm positive you can only get it from food and plants. I do believe I have warded off knee replacement, and I know this sounds extreme, but I think you have to be in an extreme position that when you do something, you can only notice the change if it's an extreme feeling. And that's what happened to me. There's a whole group of phytonutrient-rich foods. Do your research, find out what they are, and keep them on hand if you want to feel better. Because for me, what I found phytonutrient-rich foods did for me, help my knee pain, help my debilitating bones, body aches and pains from muscles and joints. And let me explain how I understand phytonutrients. There is something about phytonutrients, and I know I'm repeating myself. I've shared this with you guys in other healthy supplement videos. When you have the phytonutrient-rich foods in your system, those little phytonutrients are hidden away in your body. And when you put all these other vitamins and minerals in your body, whether they be supplements or healthy foods, without the phytonutrients, these other things don't work well or don't work right. That's the only way I can describe it, because that's been my experience. And the reason I know it works is I take hyaluronic acid, I take glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM. I take all this stuff for body aches and pains of joints and muscles. Okay, they work to a degree. Do you know that since I've been overdosing on phytonutrient-rich foods, I am not panicked to the extent that if I run out of my hyaluronic acid or my chondroitin for my bones and my stiffness, there's something about the phytonutrients that aid in my inflammation, in my pain, in my bones and joints and muscles. When I'm not overdosing on phytonutrient-rich foods and I'm taking all my supplements, I really overdose on them, but I still don't feel my best. So please research phytonutrients and see what you can find out. But again, the best way I can describe it is that you can't buy phytonutrients in a bottle. You can only get them from healthy, preferably organic fruits and vegetables, and they are like the catalyst to get all the other stuff working well. And I have physically felt the benefit, because I've been that bad off to where my pain has been horrendous. But a few days of phytonutrients, and it helps the pain. So pomegranate is one of the things that is rich in phytonutrients. You can get fresh pomegranate seeds, you can get pomegranate juice. I get these pomegranate extracts. We take this daily, but it'd be way better just to get the pomegranate juice or the pomegranate seeds fresh. also, grapeseed resveratrol. We take this daily, but again, it's best to get a phytonutrient-rich food, because those are the kinds of food that have grapeseed and resveratrol. It's better to get it in food. And again, I don't have the list of phytonutrient-rich foods, but you can find it. Just Google it on the internet. And a good carb, I do believe yams, or sweet potatoes. I do believe sweet potatoes is a phytonutrient-rich carb, and garbanzo beans are both phytonutrient-rich carbs, like a heavier carb. And so I always do my chickpeas. I call them garbanzo beans, but they're also called chickpeas. But I'm trying to find organic, but I can't find organic. So I guess I need to start incorporating sweet potatoes, organic sweet potatoes. But I love these, but I wish I could find organic. So, no. Took me almost a whole hour to get to the center of this blood pop. Excuse me, there goes my toe. To get to the gum. Back again to the caprylic acid right now as I'm chewing on this candy and gum. I'm thinking of a tooth. I might have to go to the dentist, a crown. But you know what? Here's another reason why I feel so good about taking caprylic acid. Now remember, caprylic acid, antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. If we have a loose crown, that's a lot of bacteria trouble we could be having. But this could be helping our situation that we don't even know about. This can be helping it to become terrible right away. I'm just thinking about it. My teeth issues and bacteria and all that stuff. This could be trouble. So I'm going to do your research about the benefits of caprylic acid. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So again, thank you to my viewer who likes my laughing videos, because I have a bad habit of laughing at people in turmoil. Not terrible turmoil, but I think it's the picture I make in my brain. But the fact that our neighbor now, he's the second person I know who was in the hospital for 2 months because they avoided a gallbladder problem, which his whole life he'd been battling. So just take a peek in your medicine cabinet in your house and take note of, are we taking Pepto-Bismol every week? Alka-Seltzer, do they even sell Rolaids anymore? And Vicks, Vapor Rub. I think the reason I started worrying about Vicks Vapor Rub is that petroleum jelly in the Vicks. And is petroleum jelly not good for us because does it have oil in it, or is it have some kind of toxic? I don't know. But so see if there's people in your family, in your household, taking Tums, taking Rolaids, Pepto-Bismol, Alka-Seltzer, all that stuff could be indicators of acid reflux. Or if you're taking a prescription acid reflux pill, talk to your doctor and your pharmacist. A reminder, really not something you're supposed to take the whole rest of your life. I do know that there are some vitamins and minerals that get depleted when you take an acid reflux pill. I believe Prevacid, if you take that forever and ever, I believe it robs you of magnesium and B12. I'm not sure. Please call your pharmacist and ask what happens if you take antacid, whatever the acid is, for long periods of time. And are you supposed to take it for months and months and months? Or simply do your research about the health risks related to acid reflux prescriptions. There's an organic, really good apple cider vinegar, Bragg's, B as in boy, Raggs, Bragg's. This is a cheapie. I love this little brush. Thanks for watching.